Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about the Sony-Marvel Spider-Man deal. As many of you might know, Marvel doesn't have the cinematic rights to Spider-Man and Spider-Man related characters. Those rights have belonged with Sony since 1999. If you want to know more about superhero cinematic rights, check out my previous video which discussed the topic in detail. I've left the link in the description. Now, ever since the creation of the MCU, fans have wanted Marvel and Sony to collaborate and make a shared cinematic universe. We finally got to see that last year. In Captain America Civil War, we saw the first appearance of Spider-Man in the MCU, played by Tom Holland. Along with this, we also got confirmation for a solo Spider-Man movie which would exist within the confines of the MCU. Before getting into the current situation of the character, I will discuss the specifics of the Sony-Marvel Spider-Man deal. Sony has simply leased the creative control to Marvel. It's important to note that the rights have not gone back to Marvel. So Sony pays for, distributes, and markets the solo Spider-Man movies, but Marvel makes them as a part of the MCU. Marvel doesn't make any profits from the solo Spider-Man movies, as all of the profits go to Sony. On the other hand, when Marvel is using Spider-Man in any other MCU film, for example Captain America Civil War or Avengers Infinity Wars, Sony doesn't make any investments or profits from it. All investments are made by Marvel since it's not a solo Spider-Man movie, and thus Marvel makes all the profits. Even though Spider-Man shows up in these MCU films, his rights are still with Sony. The deal between Sony and Marvel is valid for a total of 5 movies, which are Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Avengers Infinity Wars, Avengers 4, and the Spider-Man sequel. That means that Spider-Man will be in a total of 5 MCU movies, unless the contract is renegotiated. On the other hand, Tom Holland has a contract with Sony for a total of 6 films, which includes the 5 films I just mentioned and a third solo Spider-Man movie. As of now, that movie is not a part of the MCU. Now that we have that out of the way, we can talk about what's going on right now. This is where things get interesting. Last year, Sony announced that they will be making a Venom movie and another movie based on the characters of Silver Sable and Black Cat. This would have been great if Sony was making a Spider-Verse of their own, but Spider-Man was going to be a part of only the MCU at least till 2019. That meant that either these movies will be separate from the MCU and not have Spider-Man in them, or that they will be a part of the MCU and will have Spider-Man in them. Later on, Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, confirmed that these movies would not be in the MCU. This led to even more confusion because Sony was trying to make movies about Spider-Man characters without actually having Spider-Man in them. The Venom movie got confirmed for an October release in 2018, and Tom Hardy was cast as Venom in the movie. A few weeks ago, in an interview with Film Stars, Amy Pascal went out and announced that these movies will be adjunct to the MCU. Feige, who was sitting next to her, was definitely taken by surprise.
Well, those movies will all take place in the world that we are now creating for Peter Parker. I mean, there'll be adjuncts to it. They may be different locations, but it will still all be in the same world, and they will be connected to each other as well.
So there is a chance that Tom Holland as Spider-Man will pop up somewhere over there? There's always a chance.
There's always a chance. I think one of the things that Kevin has done with Marvel that's was so brilliant, and is by bringing the fans along and making each movie seem like a chapter in a book that you have to read that chapter in order to go forward. And I think the investment that the fans get to feel in being part of a larger story and understanding what's happening, I think is something that I know Sony would want.
Kevin Feige was probably shocked because Marvel and Sony were still in the middle of negotiations when Amy Pascal went out and made this announcement. A couple of days later, Feige announced that as of now, only Spider-Man is in the MCU, thus confirming that the Venom movie and Silver and Black movie won't be in the MCU. Later on the day of the Spider-Man Homecoming red carpet event, Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige were interviewed again. This time around, they had something interesting to say. Amy Pascal said that even though these movies will exist in a different universe, they will be a part of the same reality. Now, when they say universe, they mean Marvel Cinematic Universe and Sony Universe. So what they're trying to say is that since they can't have any direct crossovers, they are not putting them in the same universe. But if they are in the same reality, that is, they do not have recasted characters, Sony might be able to include Spider-Man in their Sonyverse after the Sony-Marvel deal ends. This allows Sony to make a cinematic universe of their own. This works for both the companies. Marvel did not have any place for a movie like Venom in their cinematic universe. Venom is obviously an R-rated character which won't be allowed in a movie made by a subsidiary of Disney Studios. Also, Kevin Feige has a very well planned design for the MCU and does not have any place for such a movie right now. On the other hand, Sony will be able to do the character justice. They are already on the right track by casting Tom Hardy to play Venom and making Carnage the villain for the film. I hope this cleared things out for you guys. If you liked this video, please leave a like, subscribe and leave your suggestions in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video. See you guys next week.